They say money can buy everything, but not peace, not love, not redemption. Sometimes the wealthiest man is starving for meaning, while the man who owns nothing carries the wisdom of life. This is the story of a billionaire and a homeless man whose meeting would change them both forever. It was a bitter New York winter night. The city pulsed with life, horns blaring, neon lights flashing. But on the frozen sidewalks, forgotten souls huddled under thin blankets. One of them was Ethan Walker, a man whose eyes once held dreams, but now only reflected survival. His cardboard sign read simply, "I'm not invisible." Across the street, a sleek black limousine idled at a red light. Inside sat Richard Cole, one of America's most powerful real estate tycoons. His tailored Armani suit, his diamond watch, his air of command. Everything screamed control. Yet his heart was restless. An emptiness gnawed at him like hunger. Richard's gaze wandered outside. He noticed Ethan, not for his poverty, but for his stillness. Ethan wasn't begging, wasn't shouting, just staring at the sky as if speaking to someone unseen. Something strange moved in Richard. Against reason, he lowered his tinted window. "Don't you have somewhere to go?" he asked, voice sharp, almost cold. Ethan turned his head slowly. His voice was calm, even piercing. "Don't you?" The billionaire blinked. He wasn't used to answers like that. Power silenced most men. Yet this homeless stranger had just cut through his arrogance with a single question. Impulsively, Richard ordered his driver to pull over. He stepped out into the freezing night, expensive shoes crunching against dirty snow. For the first time in decades, he wasn't a man being admired. He was just another human, standing in the cold. "What's your story?" Richard demanded. Ethan gave a weary smile. "My story doesn't fit into your world, rich man. But if you really want to hear it, it might just break you." And that night, on a street corner where worlds collided, a journey neither man expected began. Richard returned the next evening. He didn't know why, only that he couldn't stop thinking about Ethan's words. The billionaire who controlled skyscrapers now found himself standing beside a man with nothing. Ethan looked surprised, but not impressed. "Back again? Thought you'd forget me." "I don't forget," Richard said quietly. "Tell me how a man like you ends up here." Ethan inhaled sharply, eyes glistening. "I had it all once. A wife, a daughter. I built homes with my own hands. Construction was my life. But one accident at the site crushed my back. Weeks in the hospital, no paycheck, medical bills. My company let me go." Richard listened, for once without interrupting. "My wife tried, God bless her, but poverty has a way of poisoning love. She left, taking my daughter with her. I never blamed her. I blamed myself." Ethan's voice broke. "I thought I'd get back up. I thought I'd fight my way out. But one closed door led to another, and soon I was out here." The streetlights flickered above them. For the first time in years, Richard felt something unfamiliar: shame. He'd built towers, but never stopped to think about the men who worked on them. Ethan stared at him. "You think money keeps you safe? It doesn't. All it takes is one tragedy, and you could be here too." Richard swallowed hard. The billionaire who owned half the city realized he had never owned anything that mattered. Days turned into weeks. Richard kept visiting Ethan at night, sitting on that cold pavement, listening. Each story peeled away layers of arrogance he didn't know he had. Richard confessed things he had never said aloud. "My father built my empire. I only made it bigger. People call me brilliant, but all I ever did was chase more zeros on a bank statement. My wife left years ago. My son doesn't speak to me. I'm surrounded by people, but I'm completely alone." Ethan gave a sad smile. "Then maybe we're not so different." Those words haunted Richard. He started noticing things he'd ignored. The single mother with 2 kids begging at the subway, the veteran sleeping by a trash can, the way people walked past without even seeing them. At his office, board meetings about profit margins suddenly felt meaningless. He saw the greed in the polished smiles around him, smiles he used to wear. And one night, Ethan didn't show up. Richard searched frantically until he found him collapsed in an alley, weak from fever. Without hesitation, he rushed Ethan to a hospital. For the first time, Richard realized he wasn't helping out of pity. He was helping because he cared. Ethan's condition was worse than Richard expected. Weeks of malnutrition, untreated infections, exhaustion. It had taken its toll. Richard stayed by his side, paying for everything, ignoring his board's angry calls. "You're losing millions," his advisors warned. Richard didn't care. For the first time, money had a purpose. Late one night, Ethan whispered, "Why me? Why are you doing this?" Richard hesitated. "Because you reminded me I'm human, and because you're the first person in years who ever looked me in the eye and told me the truth." Ethan squeezed his hand weakly. "Then promise me something. Use your power to make sure men like me don't end up forgotten." Those words struck like lightning. Richard, the man who once measured life in profits, suddenly saw his true poverty, the poverty of compassion. Ethan survived the illness, but his strength was never the same. Yet his spirit glowed brighter than ever. And Richard knew, this man, once invisible, had given him something no money could buy: redemption. Spring arrived. The streets thawed, but something deeper had melted inside Richard Cole. He announced a massive project, the Walker Foundation. Instead of another skyscraper, he funded shelters, rehabilitation programs, and job opportunities for the homeless. For the first time, he wasn't building towers of steel. He was building hope. The press called it charity. Richard knew better. It was justice. At the ribbon cutting, Ethan stood beside him, wearing clean clothes, fragile but smiling. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but Richard only cared about one thing: that Ethan was there to see it. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard declared, "I built buildings for years. But this is the legacy I want to leave behind." The crowd erupted, but Ethan leaned in and whispered with a grin, "Told you my story would break you." Richard laughed softly, eyes misting. "No, Ethan, your story fixed me. Two men, one who had everything but nothing, one who had nothing but wisdom. Together, they changed not just each other, but an entire city. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Remember the invisible faces around you. Share kindness. Share hope. And if you want more powerful stories like this, hit like, subscribe, and join us, because sometimes the stories we share can change the world."